Hi and welcome to my channel. This is Denali, and in this video I'm going to be explaining to you the CORU recognition process. I have had a lot of DMs and messages about this, and I thought it was about time to make the video. My apologies, I know it's taken long, and I hope this video is comprehensive enough, but of course I cannot go into so much detail because each of you will have your own sort of experiences and studies that you've done that will inform what information you put onto the application form. So trust yourself, and the people at the CORU office will definitely assist you if anything is missing or anything is pending. It's a long process. You will come across many hindrances and barriers, but all I can say is that if you persevere and you just go at it, it will happen if you have all your documents in place and you have the relevant qualifications. So I've actually done this like in a PPT sort of setup, sort of format, because for the longest time I was thinking, how do I make a video and explain a video? Okay. And like I said, it's comprehensive enough, but it's not going to be every single detail. I'm not even going to be opening up the application form, which is on the web portal. And I'll explain that in the next part of the video. So thank you for being here. Let's join this sort of CORU registration community below. And if you comment below, other people can connect with you and they can ask questions. And hopefully it'll all be it'll give you some good outcomes. Okay, so now we will begin a detailed step-by-step sort of explainer of the CORU recognition process for social workers. I've created this sort of presentation, and while it might not have kind of like live footage from the application website, this sort of presentation and this video will explain to you on a very overall level what you kind of need to be prepared for. So just on the outset, before I start, I completed my Masters of Arts in Social Work from India. And while I know there might be people from countries other than India watching this video, I just want to say that a lot of my examples and references or will be from India. Okay? And that's just because I've done it. I'm from India, and I've done my process, and I've done my studies, and I've done my education, my work experience back home. Um, that will be feeding into the later parts of this video. Okay, so even if you've not done your social work masters from India and you're from some other part of the world, it's fine. You can, this video will just, as I said, it's an overall level, overall sort of overview of the whole process. In this video, I will not be talking about the work visa. Now, this is something that you have to remember. Even once you get registered at CORU, or once you get registered as a social worker here, it does not mean that you have the right to work in Ireland. The whole immigration and work visa, whatever the stamp may be, is a whole separate process. Okay? So my piece of advice here would be that before you start the CORU process, the CORU recognition process, you first look up the job opportunities for yourself in Ireland. Look what the immigration sort of laws are. See if social work is on the critical worker permits, on the critical skill sort of list. Approach organizations, see what their whole policy around hiring overseas candidates is, and then look into the CORU process, because the CORU process costs money, and I will get into that later. But just to say it again, remember that CORU registration does not mean worker visa, or does not mean you have the right to work in Ireland. Now, how do I get my degree and work experience recognized with CORU? Like I said when I started this video, recognition and registration are two separate things. Because you are an overseas qualified candidate, that means you've completed your education not in Ireland, you need to first get recognized. Your degree needs to be recognized, your placements need to be recognized, your internships, any courses, any trainings, any sort of seminar you attended, they all need to be recognized by the CORU assessors here. So that's why when you're starting this application form, it's important that you provide them with all the information that you have about yourself with regards to your social work journey, your journey as a social worker. So the first thing to do is you begin with the recognition. So in this video specifically, I'm only talking about recognition. I'm not talking about registration. Now, this is just a bit of the kind of CORU branding. So you know that be wary about the websites you're using online as well, because you don't want to be scammed. And getting scammed is very easy when you're doing any sort of online forms. Okay, so this is just a bit of a background behind the function of the Social Worker Registration Board. Now, under the Health and Social Care Professionals Act, they have established something called a Social Worker Registration Board, whose main function is to maintain and establish a social workers register. The registration will allow a person to use the title social worker. The object of the Social Worker Registration Board is to protect the public by fostering high standards of professional conduct and professional education, training, and competence among social worker registrants. The statutory registration is fundamental to the delivery of quality and accountability in the provisions of social work, and will ensure that members of the public are guided, protected, and informed so that they can be confident that a social worker is providing them with services that are properly regulated and are qualified for the job. So you see, that is why the recognition process is so in-depth and in detail, especially for overseas candidates, because the Social Work Registration Board might not be aware of our curriculum, what we studied, what our placements were like, who our professors were, how our professors taught us, the sort of pedagogy and the ideology of our course and our institutes. They are familiar with the university structures and the university and the courses here in Ireland, but they're not familiar with the ones back home, or wherever you are from. So then that is why they ask for a lot of documentation and a lot of explanation about your course, your placements, your internship, your work experience, everything. And the reason they ask this is because they want to protect the public who come in contact with social workers. We have to be properly qualified for the job. We have to have and so that and we have to be regulated. So that means that we shouldn't be having sort of like um, any sort of criminal record, or having sort of any sort of misconduct with children of and all of that sort. So it's a very protected title. Social work here, a social worker is a very protected title here, and it's a very regulated profession. All right. Now, all applicants, this last bit here, my video is kind of covering it, but I'm just talking about this last bit here. All applicants who hold professional qualifications gained outside the Republic of Ireland must first have their qualification recognized by the Social Workers Registration Board before an application for registration can be made. So here, first recognition, then registration. Okay. Now the Social Worker Registration Board, I'm not too sure if they are also, that's what CORU is called, but CORU is basically the organization or the office that does the recognition process for social workers. So don't quote me on any of the CORU so I'm not too sure about the sort of what the Social Work Registration Board means in terms of like if it's what CORU is in relation to that. Next. So this is the website for CORU, www.coru.ie. I think I must have said more than 4 W's, but yeah. So go to the website. Okay. Now this is very, I don't need to say this in the video, but please read every line. So you go to the website. This is what your web page will show you. You come under this category, health and social care professionals. So you go and you click visit website. Once you visit a website, you'll be taken to this page on the left, this page here, and read everything. Read all the sort of little articles or the little whatever the these tiles are. Read all the tiles and uh, that you so basically gives you more information. Then you have to do apply for recognition of international qualifications of international qualifications. So you are on this one. So you have to click here. Okay. Then okay, so this is actually towards the end, but I'll just say it to you now. Once you have put all your documents together, once you have everything, you have to, in order to submit it, in order for them to even see your paperwork, you have to pay one 410 euros. Okay. After you pay that money, they will review your documents and an officer will be allocated to you, and that officer will be in touch with you. They will correspond with you. They will send you a lot of emails, and so don't worry about that. You will have somebody to answer every single one of your questions, but you need to actually make that application. Okay, now for the recognition. The pages I showed you before was just the basic, the CORU website, what it is about. You'll get a lot of information about different things, but the recognition is a totally different sort of portal, I would say. So you type it onto Google, corurecognition.ie, and you should be led to a website where you have to create an account. Okay, so you have to create an account. Now, the basic things like personal information, creating a account, password, all of that, self-explanatory. You will be able to do that on your own. Okay. Now, I've skipped all those parts where you have to create an account, la 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 la. Now we're coming to the bit where what do they actually need? So what does the CORU recognition people, I'm just using the word people, imagine a group of people sitting around a table and they're reviewing your big file of all your work experience, of your degrees, all your trainings, all your internships, and all your placements. Imagine that they're like reviewing that file. So what do they need? They need all your personal details, name, date of birth, passport details, where your home address, blah, 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 blah. Then they need your education details. Then they need your internship details, work experience details, and competent authority details. They'll also ask you if you've done any research work, give those details as well. There are a lot of, like a lot of the things are very self-explanatory. You will come across it as you do the application. So I'll go to the next one, education. Okay, so yeah, in education, there are basically 4 pieces of documentation that they will ask from your, there are actually 5 pieces of documentation that they will ask from your university or your college, wherever you've done your masters in social work. Now, I'm saying masters in social work. I'm not talking about bachelors because I have no experience in the whole with people who have done their bachelors. So if you've done your masters, then that's why I'm saying masters. Now, in your education bit, all the documents that you need to submit need to come from your university or your college. They cannot come from you. They cannot come from uh, your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or your Hotmail account. Okay. Now, CORU has two ways at which you can submit your application. You can actually send all your documents via post to them here in Dublin, or you can email them all your documentation. Now, everything will be on that application portal. The email IDs, everything will be there. Okay? But at this stage, when you're on the portal, when you're on the online recognition application portal, there's no need for you to email anything to CORU yet. You will need to start emailing CORU once you have paid the 410 euros. Okay? Then they will get back to you and they will say, can you send me this? Can you send me that? Can you send me that? So that is the email ID you will reply to them on. Okay? That is the email ID your university or your professors or your college will reply to them on. Okay? Now, this is a tip for everybody. You need to have a good contact person, maybe a professor who taught you, or maybe somebody, it's usually a professor or a teacher who taught you during your course, because they will have to send lots of emails and lots of documents to CORU. So establish a good contact in the college, somebody who has taught you, preferably who's taught you in your course, so they know who you are, they know your course, they know what you study, they know your placements and everything, and tell that person, so and so there's going to be a lot of correspondence with CORU, so I'll need you to like kind of check your emails often, CC them, ask them to CC you in all the emails or BCC you in all the emails so that you have a record for yourself. Okay, now imagine you're on the portal, you are filling up your education sort of details. Okay, so the education details are called the primary qualification for recognition. Now, in my case, I have done my master's and that is the qualification I want to recognize. I have not done my bachelor's. I'm not getting my bachelor's recognized. Now, if you've done your bachelor's in social work and you want to get that recognized, I do not know how it works for bachelor's, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm only talking about whatever degree you want to get qualified, you want to get recognized. You could also do your bachelor's in social work recognition, and you'll just have to see what CORU comes back to you at. Now, the documents under your qualifications, what you need to submit under your education. You need to first submit all your qualification details. Now, this is on the portal, you'll be entering all these details and an auto-generated PDF will be generated. Okay, this will have details like your, give me 1 second, I'm just going to cross check with, this will have details like your title of your qualification, when you started your qualification, when you graduated from the qualification. So if you go to 2-year masters, you suppose you started in 2020 and you ended in 2022, that's the start and end date, June 2020 to April 2022. Then the certificate awarded, when did you get your degree certificate, when was your convocation, when did you get your degree certificate, it will be mentioned on your degree. Then your certificate number, look at your degree, your certificate, there'll be a little number on top or at the back, write that number in. This is for them to cross check. Then level of study, if you did a master's, then it's your master's. If you did an undergraduate, bachelor's, it's your bachelor's. Study mode, did you do full-time study, did you do part-time study? How long was your course, was it 2 years, was it 2.5 years, was it 3 years? Write that. The name of your institute, whatever your institute is, St. Aloysius School, or St. Aloysius College, TISS, Delhi School of Social Work, whichever, Don Bosco School of Social Work, department name, social work, or whatever the department name in your college is, your address of your college, the website of your college, and there's something called ECTS units, ECTS, qualification framework level, and accelerated entry. I will go into those in the slides to come. Okay, so that's the first thing that you will have to enter on the portal. Okay, this is all online. All these details you will enter in, you will type them in, and they automatically a generated PDF will be created. Okay, I'll tell you what you have to do with that PDF next. Then the next thing you need to submit to CORU is your course curriculum. Now you don't need to submit this. Your professor or your teacher from your college or your university needs to submit this directly to CORU. Now, when I started my CORU process, what I did was I was telling my professors and my teachers to send all my documents even before I paid the 410 euro. Okay, you can do it that way, or you can do after paying the 410 euro, you can ask your professors to send the documents then. You can ask your professors to send the documentation after you pay the 410, because CORU themselves will write an email to you saying, okay, so and so documents are pending. And then then you'll tell your professors, okay, please send these documents. Okay. What I did was I was already sending my documents even before I paid the 410 euros. They will see the documents, but they will not comment on it if it's correct, if it's wrong, if it'll just be in their email box, really, because you've not paid the 410 euros. They will not, they don't feel entitled to sort of respond to your any sort of discrepancies in that document. Okay. So that's what I did, but now in retrospect, what I think I could have done is I should have paid the 410. Then they would have sent me a long email of list that things that are missing from my application, and then I would have sent the missing documents. Now, course curriculum. What is your course curriculum basically? It is a booklet or a handbook which explains in each semester what you studied. Now, in each semester, if it was a 2-year program with 4 semesters, in semester 1, module 1, you learned self and society. Module 2, social work practices. Module 3, research and social work. Module 4, India's history of social work. I'm just saying this on top of my head. I can't really remember what exactly the name of the modules. Now, each module will have objectives of what is the objective of teaching the students this topic, this module. They'll have essential readings. They'll have assessment methods, either via projects or written assessment or field work, whatever. Okay, so your course curriculum has to outline everything. And the only person who holds this document is your university. Now you will realize that you have to ask your universities for a lot of things. So that's why that's very important to create that link with the professors or link with the university so that all of this is kind of like done. Okay, so it's a handbook with a syllabus outlining whatever you've studied during your course. Okay, and this has to be sent from your university to CORU directly. Now this is not really uploaded on the portal. Well, at least when I was doing it back in 2022, when I was doing it, I didn't have to upload it on the portal. Rather, I had to send it via email after I paid the 410 euros. Okay, but I said it to you, I actually was already sending my documents even before paying the 410 euros. But you need to, this goes via email. I'm not sure now if you have to put it up, if you can upload it on the portal. You might be able to, which again I doubt, because they're very strict about things coming from authentic websites, from authentic email IDs. Okay, and I will get into this later, but I'll say it here as well. You cannot be sending things from Gmail accounts or Yahoo accounts. So if your professor does not have a Gmail account or does not have an official institute email address, it can be prakashnarayan@tis.edu or prakashnarayan@staloysiuscollege.in or prakashnarayan@delhischoolofsocialwork.org. It has to come from the institute's domain, because they'll find it very sketchy who's sending this email via Gmail and just putting their title as professor of social work at so and so college. So it's a very detailed process. They're very particular about a lot of things. So you might get a bit frustrated, but just remember that it needs to, like, they need to be reassured that it's coming from the right person. Okay, now if your professor does not have, if your university does not have their own domain, etc., etc., I will get into that towards the end. Okay, so that's the second piece of document you need under the education section, which is the primary qualification for recognition. You might have a bachelor's in social work. You might also have a master's in social work. You might have a bachelor's in English literature and a master's in social work. Whichever you want to get recognized, you have to fill up the details of that qualification. Now, I've done my bachelor's in literature. I will not put it as my primary qualification because it does not make sense, right? Or I've done my bachelor's in, say, physics. It will not make sense if I put it as my primary qualification, if I have social work as my main qualification. Then the third document is your certificate of award, which is basically your degree. After you completed your course, you obviously get a certificate saying that you have completed a 2-year degree in Masters of Arts in Social Work from this year to this year with so and so grade. Take a photocopy of that and go to a notary, go to your lawyer or whoever does your sort of signing of true copies of originals, get them to sign it there, scan it and send it to CORU. CORU does not like when we send photocopies without this is a true copy of the original, because they think that it's not the real one, right? So basically that's the idea. When you take a photocopy of anything, you have to make sure that it has been cited by a commissioner of, they say, you'll hear these words on the website, on the, when you read all the explainer documents, commissioner of oaths or peace commissioner, all of these terms you will hear, because whenever you're uploading any photocopies, they have to be cited and they have to be stamped saying that these are true copies of the original. And the last piece of documentation is your transcript. You might already have your transcript with you, so you can scan, again, take a photocopy of it, get it, because you're not going to send your original transcript. And even if you want to send your original transcript, you're scanning it and sending, right? So essentially you're sending like a copy. Where, and even if you wanted to post it to Dublin, you will never send any of your original documents. Your original documents are supposed to be kept with you. So again, go to a notary or go to a lawyer and get it signed that this is the true copy of the original. For the last two, for this degree award and transcript, you can also ask your professor from a university to send it directly. Okay. You can do both ways, or you can do both ways, I would say. And when I say a professor from a university, it has to be the professor from the university who taught you the course. It can't be any professor from any university. Okay. Okay, now education details. Imagine you're on the portal and you're filling out all the details. Now, I have not put screenshots of the portal, especially because when I was trying to access my portal, all my personal details were there, and I didn't want to kind of take screenshots and put up my personal details here. I also didn't want to like highlight stuff out or like mark stuff out. But on the portal, you'll be entering all these details, and it will generate a sort of document like this. So basically, you have written your first name, your surname, your qualification in English, your qualification title. Like some of our qualifications might be in the language of the state you studied in. It all has to be translated in English. I know this is also another very self-explanatory thing. Everything either has to be English or in Irish. So I would say make sure all your documents, whatever you're submitting, photocopies, etc., all have to be translated into English. Uh, Qualification title, meaning Masters of Arts in Social Work or whatever it essentially, I hope you are going to be doing, you've done your masters in social work, and hence you can't be applying. I don't want to comment, I don't want to talk about other sort of degrees you could have done and still practice in the social work field, but hoping it's Masters of Arts in Social Work, or again, I don't want to comment on if you've done your bachelor's because I don't have information. Then start date of your course, end date of your course, certification number. Your degree certificate will have a number on top, so behind, so make sure you add that. When was your degree? That means usually at the time of your convocation you would have gotten your degree, or even on your degree certificate it will be said awarded on so and so date. Then level of study, it could be a master's or undergraduation, which is bachelor's. Study mode, full-time, part-time, or total time taken 2 years, 1.5 year, 3 years, 4 years, institute name, department names, address, town, city of your institute, institute website, ECT units, ECTS, qualification frameworks. I'll explain to you this at the end. So now this is an auto-generated form. You would have typed all of this out in the portal. Then one option will come at the side saying generate PDF. Generate PDF. It will download automatically. Go to your downloads. Print that form out. Now all these details would automatically be filled depending on what you have entered. When you got all these details filled, it will come out over here on this side. Print it, scan it, send it to your professor in your university who has taught you the course. Ask them to verify this document by signature, verified by print name, verified by email address, verified by phone number, and tell them to put the institute's stamp on it. Okay? Then your professor has to scan the document again, and they have to send the document to the recognition email address. Now, what the recognition email address is, you will find out once you have paid the 410 euros. They will send you an email saying that so and so documents are missing, please give it to me. Okay? So they will send the email address to you. Okay? Again, I'm not sure what it is now, but if you can, I don't know if you can upload this signed verified document directly on the portal once your professors have signed and stamped. You might be able to automatically upload it on the portal. See if that option is there. Okay. Now, another very important thing, this thing in red, ask your professor to CC you in the email. Whatever email you're sending this document to, tell them to send you a copy, because you need to keep a record of all the documents sent to CORU, because there's going to be so many documents, you won't know what's where and where it's gone. Okay, so keep all the list of the documents. Okay, again, I don't know if this document needs to be uploaded directly on the portal or it has to be emailed to CORU. I think you have to directly upload it on the portal. There'll be an option to upload. Okay, so you see that as it goes. Okay, now I want to talk about the ECT units. Now, if you saw on the previous slide here, we spoke about, okay, I don't know, I can't go back, but we spoke about ECT. What is ECT? ECT is European Credit Transfer Units. Basically, it's the grading, not the grading system, but the sort of the credit system here for each module. Okay. Now, depending on where you have studied, what university you've gone to in back home in India, they might have different. Each of your modules will have a a credit score attached to it. Okay, so for example, ideologies of social work, which will be 1 credit. It will be mentioned. Now, all this information, the best place to get this information is on your transcripts. Okay, it will be mentioned on your transcripts. I don't want to get into too much detail about this whole credit system and all of that, because to be honest, sometimes even I get very confused, but you'll just figure it out on your transcript. It's very easy to figure it out once you just look at how it is. Now, how my university does their marking system or their grading system might be different from yours. Okay. Check your transcripts to see how many credits each module or paper is for. Okay. Some universities also mention how many hours each module was taught for. For example, I had one module called Self and Society, which was 1 credit. And in that whole topic of self and society was taught over 15 hours. Okay. So the ECT units is basically, I'll explain it to you as we go on. Okay. Then on the online form, you will have will have to select the ECT unit measure. That means either credits or hours. So this is a screenshot of actually a little bit on the portal what it looks like. So select ECTS credits or hours. So now here you can decide. Okay, my university they gave each module a credit or an hour. So if again, look at your mark sheet or look at your transcript and see how they were how each module was kind of weighted. The weight of each module, that's the word, the weight of each module. It can be either in hours or it can be in credits. Some modules are less weighted, meaning then they have less hours in teaching them. Okay, some modules are much heavier and then the teachers need to take more time to teach you those topics. There'll be more hours. Okay, so for example, my university, on my mark sheet it shows both credit and hours. So you decide what your university did and you select the measure. Okay, And then once you select the measure, you have to calculate how many credit or hours. Was it 70 credits or 700 hours? I don't know. Okay. Next is the qualification framework. As you have completed your master's in social work in India, you have to find out what is the equivalent qualification in Ireland. Now, if all those of you who uh, have tried to go to Canada and tried to do the PR process for Canada, this is very similar to the WES sort of equivalency bit where they try to equate your Indian qualification to the Canadian system. So here again, you have to see what your degree, either undergrad or postgrad, is in relation to the Irish system. Now, please remember, we are still under the topic of primary qualification for recognition. Okay, if you have done 500 masters, we're not talking about all the 500 masters, we're just talking about the one you want to get recognized. Okay, so we're still talking about that masters in that university from those year, in that year time period, for maybe for the 2-year masters, then that masters in particular. Don't If you've done, some of us have done 2 masters, 3 masters, and maybe 3 undergrads, but we are still talking about the main one, the main qualification you want to get recognized. Okay, don't please note that. I know people would have done like one post graduation in management, and then they would have done social work. Decide, what do you want to get recognized. I'm not here to tell you what you want to get recognized. That's for you to make that judgment. But it's obvious, if you've done a master's in social work and you want to work as a social worker, you would know automatically what you need to recognize. Now you need to find out what your degree which you want to recognize, the primary qualification you want to recognize. You need to see how is that related to, where is that on the Irish system, on the Irish framework. Okay, saying that if you have done 2 masters and 3 masters or 4 masters or 500 masters, there is an option where you can keep adding on all those master's degrees that you've done. Now please remember, as much as you add, as much you have to prove. Okay, so think smart and do what is needed and what is relevant. Now, to find out where your degree is on the Irish framework or the Irish system here, you need to go to this website called NARIC Island Foreign Qualification. So type this on Google. I'm using my highlighter. Type this on Google. These 4 words, if you type it on Google, the first option or the second option you get, you will go to a framework. Okay, it will look something like this, right? Go to this search menu here, type India and put higher education or whichever option you want to see. You can explore the page. It's a very interesting page. Then you will see over here a Masters of Arts in Science, Computer Science or Commerce, has an NFQ level of 9. So the Irish award class. So if you have done a master's in India in this sort of sphere, it basically means that it's equivalent to doing a master's in Ireland. So congratulations on that. Okay. Now back to that little screenshot. Choose relevant qualification framework. Now they'll there's a drop down option here where you can choose either the Canadian system or the US system or the Australian one or the New Zealand one or the Irish one. Now I've given you the reference of NARIC, so you can either use that or not. So if you choose the Irish framework and then you do that whole what NFQ level you are on, the Irish framework is called the NFQ basically, and the master's was a 9, right? You have to put level 9 because your Indian degree is equivalent to a level 9 of the Irish degrees. I know that this is a bit of like using of the same words, etc., etc., but you will figure it out as you go. Trust me, it's not as complicated as I make it to sound. Okay, now placements. Now during your social work degree, you have done placements, haven't you? I hope you have, because that's basically the social work. Your education in social work should have placements. Your placement will be supervised by a placement person. Someone from the organization where you're doing your placement for will be working with you, allocated to you to make sure you're doing your job, right? I'll get to that bit later. Now let's talk about the placement details. Again, on the portal, you will fill out all your details, where your placement was, the address of your placement, what your main duties were, who was your supervisor, what was your supervisor's position, did you fail that placement or did you pass that placement, how many hours were you on that placement, was it a full-time placement or a part-time placement, you know, were you just doing 2 hours every day, that could be part-time, depends, the start and end date of your placement. Okay, now this document which will get auto generated is called a verification of placement. Print that, scan it, send it to your university. Do not send it to your placement. Do not send it to the placement organization. If you worked for for CRI, for example, don't send it to them. If you work for CINI, for example, don't send it to them. If you work for um, I don't know, there are so many organizations you could have worked for. If you work for Childline, for example, don't send it to them. If you did your placement with them, don't send it to them. You have to send it to your university professor. Okay? It could have been the professor who you were under during your placement, or it could just be the same university professor who you're sending all the documents to. Okay? Ask them to sign, stamp, date, write email address, contact number. Okay? Then ask them to scan that document and send it again to CC it to you so you can upload it on the portal. Okay, and and upload it on the portal. Again, you have to check this. I'm not sure if you can upload it on the portal or you have to send it directly to CORU on their email address, but I think you will be able to upload this document on the portal. The document will look similar to the one I showed you on primary qualifications. Okay, now in placement, you should include your main duties, and this should include the skills you use, the knowledge you acquired, and how your skills develop during the placement. Another important aspect of placement is supervision. Now in Ireland, if you work as a social worker here, you need to be supervised by somebody, by your manager who's also a social worker, and they will have oversight of all the work you're doing with your clients. Okay, so supervision is a very important aspect of social work here, something that I was not aware of before I came and I started working here. It's a very important that you read up on what supervision is. It's a very handy tool, I feel, and it's a very handy piece of information as a social worker, and even for your own professional knowledge and your own professional growth. It's important to know what supervision is. Yes, sorry. So it's important that uh, when you're at your placement, I I understand that we're all supervised when we're at our placement, or we're all managed by an employee of the organization. So, um, and that the employee of that organization is constantly checking in on your work, making sure you're doing the right kind of work. You're making sure that you are uh, not doing the wrong thing with your clients. You might be working with children. You have to be able, you should not be doing anything that is unethical. Okay, so these are all the things that your employer or the person who's supervising your placement will do. Okay. Okay, internship. Now this is under section 4.3. This is also under the education category, on the education section. Now, internships are not the same as placement. Okay, so you might have done an internship during your gap year, or you might have done an internship while studying, or you might have done an internship during your summer vacations. You can include that all in your internship section. Now again, you might have done internship in digital marketing, and you might have done internship in field work for Childline or for Bachpan Badao, uh, or you might have done an internship at Hard Work No Pay, and you could have done an internship at HDFC Bank in their client service section. You have to make a decision for yourself what internship you want to add in your application and how it is relevant to the registration of as a social worker. Okay, I will not be giving you that guidance because I don't think me giving my own personal opinion on a video like this is appropriate. Okay, now again, you'll be on the web portal, you'll be on your application portal, fill in all your main duties, what you did in your internship, what were the outcomes of your internship, was your internship supervised. Now when you're at an internship, you're not usually just left in the organization. Someone will be there to tell you what you need to do, how you need to do, who you need to meet, what is the work allocated to you, right? Then what is that person's name, how many times you were supervised by him, like where he sat you down or she sat you down and said, okay, so your task for this week is this, or how have you done this, and they'll give you some sort of feedback. So if you might have done that once every 2 weeks, or once every 3 weeks, or once every month, or once every 2 months, you put that down there. Supervisor's position, they could have been intern coordinator, program director, field worker, secretary of organization, put their position. Assessment outcome, usually I don't know, internships, are they graded? If they are, then did you pass it or did you fail it? Total hours of internship, was it 5 hours for 7 days a week, 5 hours for 6 days a week, 3 hours for 5 days a week? Put how many hours you did your internship for. Was it um, a full-time internship or a part-time? And when you started the internship, when you ended. Then you will get a generated PDF called verification of internship. Print that, scan it, send it to your internship organization, ask them to sign, stamp, verify the information. The information should be correct, okay? And you're getting your organization, the internship organization, to verify it. So please make sure you're putting the correct information and you're not signing something that's incorrect. It could fall back on them, and it could just be, provision of you're providing incorrect information, and they could get into trouble. Okay, so when I say it will generate a PDF, that means all that you filled out on the portal will automatically get generated on a form that I showed you previously on qualifications. Okay, it's like similar form will be for internships also will be generated. Then your internship organization will have to scan the signed, stamped that document and send it back to you. Okay, and then you can upload it on your portal. Okay, and if they can't send it back to you, they can send it directly to CORU, but they cannot send it with any sort of from a Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo. Okay, only official accounts. Now your internship organization might be in a rural part in India that they don't really have their own domains. They might even sometimes it might be very difficult to even get in touch with them because they have very poor connectivity in terms of internet and phone network. Sometimes the printers, the scanners, the computers don't work. These are all barriers that you will face during this process, but do not fret and do not think it's not possible. This is why it takes a lot of time. Okay, but these are some barriers you will face and you cannot do anything about it. You will just have to deal with it as it comes, and you take it as it comes. Ask your internship organization to CC you in the email so that you have a copy of the record. Record keeping in this whole process is very important. Okay. Similar for employment, the employment verification document, the PDF that is generated is called the verification of previous employment. Now, you might have worked for 12 years, 15 years in one organization or 15 different organizations. Document all of it. Now, you might have worked again as a marketing manager at some company. Then you would have worked as a field worker at another organization. So you have to see what you need to include, okay? What you think is relevant, what information is relevant, okay? So there is an option to keep on adding how much ever job work experience you have, you can keep adding that to your document, all right? So again, you have to write your employer's name, address of organization, name of organization, official website, official email, start date, end date, duration of employment, contract type. Okay. fill all these details, generate the PDF, print it out, scan it, send it to your employer, ask them to sign, stamp, date, write email, verify the information and make sure it's correct. Then your employer will have to scan it and send it to either CORU or send it back to you, and you will upload it on the portal. Again, make sure you have a copy for your own records. If they're sending it directly to CORU, you need to have a copy in your record. So be CC'd in all the emails. Now, like, sometimes when I was doing this whole thing, I was like, these things don't make sense because back home in India, it's so different. Like, what's an internship? What is employment? Sometimes I was just like so confused as to what to put where. But in these sort of situations, you trust yourself to decide and to know what forms as employment and what forms as an internship. Okay, maybe you've qualified 20 years ago and you want to try this, or 15 years ago, and you never did internships, but you did a lot of like voluntary work and stuff like that. So maybe you couldn't put that in internships. I don't know. Okay, but it's your experience, and don't let that experience just not be documented, because it will add weight to your application. It'll give them more reason to believe that, okay, this person has actually worked in this profession for so and so time. They've done so and so work. So don't let that, when you're confused as to, okay, this I just volunteered during my when I went to live with my nanny in Delhi. I was just volunteering. Make all of it count, make all of it matter. Don't let that experience just be not documented just because you don't know where it fits in, just because the organization doesn't exist anymore. Write to CORU, tell them what the problem is, and they will find out. They will themselves give you a solution. You can ask me, but I might not have, I won't have that information. Best I would say is to write to CORU, and they will give you that information. They will help you, or they'll make it easier for you. Okay. Then there's an option to enter things about any research you did. If you did your master's, then you would have done your thesis. Okay. You can write about that. Any trainings you attended after you qualified or even before you qualified. Any courses, workshops, 1-day courses, 2-day courses. Enter everything that's related to the field. Don't let anything go undocumented. And I guess the sort of the thing will be the same. In employment, you don't have to write main duties. Okay. Competent authority. Now, this is where I got the most jammed and the most like confused. Because back home, we don't have something like CORU, or we don't have a social workers registration board. For that matter, social work is not a regulated profession. Am I right or am I wrong? You can comment below. Okay. So we can be social workers without having an MSW. We can be social workers without having a BSW. The social work title is used so loosely. So because it's not a regulated or a protected title. Like lawyers, you're only a lawyer if you've done your law exam, you've passed the board, you've done your law studies, and then you're registered as a lawyer. Okay, you have like a proper registration number. Even a doctor, you do your MBBS, you do your doctorate, and then you do your doctor studies. You answer the exams, and then you qualify, and then you become a full-fledged. Then it's like these are protected titles. You just don't become a doctor. You can't just say you're a doctor just out of nowhere. You can't say you're a solicitor, a lawyer out of nowhere. But you can say you're a social worker, because anybody who does good work, helping people, social worker. Over here in Ireland, it's very different. Social worker, that title, to be able to call yourself a social worker, it's a protected title. Okay, it's a regulated profession. You can call yourself a social worker out of like very airy fairy way. You can call yourself a social worker, but it's different. And if you have any comments on this, please comment below, because I really want to know your views. Now, we don't have a registration board in India. At least I don't know till date. If maybe there is one, if there is, please comment below. I would love to know what the registration board is. But in what we do have is we have membership organizations. Okay, not unions, but organizations. Now, if you're from Kerala, if you're from West Bengal, if you're from Gujarat, find out. Go on Facebook, go on, ask your professors, do you know of any organization here that which has like an association for social workers? These are very loose words I'm using. Organization, association, union, very loose words because there's no concept of it. I don't even know what words to use. Okay. Now, the state I came from, we didn't have one. So now where do I go? Okay. Now, basically, in this section, this is actually the second section, if I'm not mistaken. No, this is the third section on your online portal. It's called the eligibility section. This basically is the proof of eligibility to practice in the country of qualification. Now, you have to basically prove that with your qualification as a social worker, with your MSW, that you can practice as a social worker. Now, this is a very absurd concept to me because I could have practiced as a social worker even without my MSW. I could have worked with vulnerable communities or vulnerable children even without my degree. So these things will bedazzle you and you'll just be so confused and you'll just say, I don't know what they're talking about. Okay. And this is where I come in, and that's why I've made this video to just tell you that the situations here in the West and in India are very different. Okay. But don't worry and don't think that, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to be recognized by CORU. There is a way. There is, and if you persevere and if you do it, you will definitely manage. There are a lot of Indians who have done their degrees back home who are now working as social workers here. If they could do it, if I could do it, you can definitely do it. If you have all your documents in place and you've actually done a degree in social work, then you should be fine. Okay, so now you have to show that you can practice social work in India. Okay, now they're not just going to be able to say, you can't just say to them, yeah, of course I can practice. No, you have to show. So now I'm going to give you a list of organizations that I know of. It's actually not a list, it's just three who you can contact. They are membership organizations. Okay. I just want to show what I've written over here. Okay. You can read this for yourself, but please do your own research. So there is NAPSWI, that is National Association of Professional Social Workers in India, that's based in Delhi. Kerala Association of Professional Social Workers, that's CAPS, that's based in Kerala. Then the Indian Network of Professional Social Workers Association, that's based in Bangalore. Now, if you go on Google, you type these words, they'll all be available. What you should do, what you can do, and this is my advice. Contact them, tell them you want to become a member. They will give you a membership number on a letter stating that so and so is a member of so and so association, membership number, blah blah blah. Okay, they'll send you that letter. That is your membership organization. You'll have to pay some money for it, but it all is going towards the good cause of getting CORU registered. Okay, then once they have sent you this, once you're a member of them, then they will give you some, then they will help you out. Okay, now this one, NAPSWI, CAPS, and the India Network of Professional Social Workers, they all are very well aware of CORU and social work England or what Canada social work, whatever it is. They all have people coming to them and asking them for help. Okay, so they are aware of the processes, and please know that these are voluntary organizations. So these people have full-time jobs that pay them that have to pay them. These sort of associations are not where they get their main source of income from. So they will be occupied with other work. So they might not get back to you very fast. Do not get frustrated. Do not get angry. Do not get disheartened. Just keep going at it. Send emails repeatedly and they will get back to you. Okay. So you choose your organization. Now these are just three. They might be some in where you are from. If you're from Assam, there might be something there. If you're from Tamil Nadu, there might be something there. If you're from Maharashtra, there might be something there. But you do your research. Okay. This is just my tips and my advice. This is just what I know and I want to help. So that's why I've given this. Okay. Become a member and then they will have to do something called the 7 questions. Now that this is all on the portal, which you will have to download that form and you'll have to send it to them to fill, and they will have to send it directly to CORU. I've actually not included those 7 questions here. I should have, but I haven't. But with regard to competent authority, this is basically what it is. Once your payment is done and all the documents are submitted, an officer will be allocated to you. The officer will email you. So please put your correct email address, okay, for any pending or incorrect documents, and please reply. Cost of application 410 euros. If your degree and your work experience is recognized, then you will get a letter asking you to apply for the CORU social work register. Okay. To put your name on the register, you will have to pay 100 euros. Now, if you've been recognized, okay, some of us may fail, and I don't know if they give you the money back. You have to ask them. But some of us might pass. I passed, and that's why I got an invitation to apply for the register. Now, how will they assess my degree? How will they assess my work experience? These are the main domains of assessment. You need to read this document before you start. It's all available on the website. I will tell you in the next page. Okay. It's in the name of the document. Type it onto Google. Standards of proficiency and practice placement criteria, Ireland. It will explain all the domains which I explained to you on the previous slide. If your work experience is not in line with this, then you may not pass the recognition. This can be found on Google. I will put the link in the description box below. Okay. Now the big question, what if my university, organization or employer does not have their email domain? Something very simple that can be done is get them to write a little note on a letterhead stating that, suppose you worked at Childline, or suppose you worked at Cry. These are organizations will definitely have domains, but imagine you worked for an organization that did not have their own email address. On a letterheaded paper, make them write to say that so and so organization does not have an email address, but we use this email address, and then mention the email address, which will be a Gmail, Google, whatever, Yahoo, Hotmail, and make whoever the person is in the organization to sign and stamp it. Okay, and CORU will be okay to receive documents from them, from the Gmail or the Yahoo, but you have to have them write a note on a letter-headed paper, which needs to be signed, stamped, printed, all of that, print name and everything. Remember, self-explanatory does not mean that you have the right to work in Ireland. And that's it. I spoke a lot, and I'm going to divide this video into maybe 2 parts or 3 parts.